last left off, our heroes had decided that it was time for a much-needed vacation. And as some of them also determined it would be a good moment to lay low or reconnect with family, the group split up a week. Some heading out to Salatero, others taking a train to Budavere. While there, Dale, Babette, and Arthur found themselves enjoying local Arvalian culture. A little spa, a little haunting, and some duels just for good measure. In the midst of this, Dale made a new friend, a tiefling by the name of Steria, a musician, it would seem. Though she didn't mention much about herself, other than the fact that she had supposedly grown up here in Budavere. Dale, nevertheless, took a liking to her, despite her initially throwing Molotov cocktails at him, thinking that he had stolen her instrument. Arthur decided that after a few duels and some Good Samaritan activities, that perhaps a different change of pace might add some much-needed fun to this vacation. So, clued Dale and you in on a secret path to Griffons' Perch, a gambling casino of sorts that floats in a gray area over international waters on Lake Avale. As you took the boat hoisted by invisible means to this floating island, you had some drinks, tried your hand at figuring out how the tables work, and before pressing your luck too much, Zale set off to take the little bit of earnings he had had and treat his new friend to a dinner. Meanwhile, Bet and Arthur made connections with a money launderer. On the opposite side of this lake, in the city of Hearthvine, Hanu, new friend Fee, and Libby had taken it upon themselves to find a odd job while the rest of their friends were preoccupied. A job that included liberating, let's say, cultural artifacts that others might believe would be better suited amongst the people that came from, or, if lacking that, bottom of the sea. Prompted on this strange request by a ghost summoned through a Ouija board found in Ya's attic, the group were met by a friend of Babette's, a rather shady character, halfling with a hooked hand named Caius. And despite Hanu's initial trepidation, she couldn't argue with the wisdom of not going into an enterprise like this blind and without friends. As it seemed, he was merely offering advice in return for being able to hold a favor over Babette at a later time. He accepted it. He laid out a old rule, a term of phrase shared amongst thieves and spies, known as parent. Plan, access, retrieve, egress, navigate, and then trade. By following these steps, it said, you can perform crime within the protected parameters of the guilds here. So, he spent about the next couple of days scouting out this museum. You got to know the very hobbyist-minded proprietor of this establishment, and decided to continue on with your plan. Meanwhile, however, inside of Rosemary's home, a few floors up from the beginnings of a simmering meal as Zarman prepares another practice round of food for those gathered here. The slight little sense of beginnings of cooking waft their way upstairs into the dimly lit midday attic of Rosemary's. Light pours in through the 3-story high windows of this tacked-on tower. It's filtered through and dappled by the towering and teetering collections of furniture and odds and ends that have gathered and made their way here over many lives. In the middle of this, and the space where you all have cleared up room enough for a few beds and have set up your own little comfortable living arrangements, tucked away in one of the darkest little corners of these teetering wardrobes and dressers and vanity mirrors and chairs, towering up 20, 30 feet high, comes to a bunk bed, placed up against one of the walls. The curtain over it, a few drawers set to the side, and the books, scrolls, candles, and accoutrements could only belong to the sorcerer. As the Minotaur, Kak, pours over his book. Kak, I would like you to make me an Arcana check. It's at advantage because you're at your research materials and stuff, so
well,
you have all your books and stuff here available to use. A natural 20. You are reading about creatures that change their morphology, thinking that perhaps you'll gain some insight from this type of stuff. Hope to be able to rapidly change certain physiologies and certain things, and there are creatures that already do that. And the one that you're particularly looking at right now, you're able to identify as being a whole section on oh gosh, I just blanked on my own freaking thing. Hold up. As a section on sloths.
Yes.
You notice that they have a method of starting out in one form, but having very many different variations that they can get through. And as like the ideas start to kind of click in your mind, I want you to go ahead and give me an intelligence check. Just straight intelligence. Right. You can't help yourself in a way as you start to kind of excitedly mutter some of these things, just absentmindedly as you're reading rapid fire through this section. And before you realize what it is that has been uttered out of your mouth, it's a little too late. As you realize that they've mixed an actual incantation into their notes here. As in the pages suddenly go and turn a dark black, ink kind of spilling out through the center of it, and the letters and sigils in it take on this purplish hue shining up out of the darkness. You watch as the ink from it begins to rise up in this odd little kind of tadpole-like shape, which with your check you will immediately recognize as a slod tadpole. I need you to go ahead and roll initiative for me.
Yep, because I'm really good at those.
Alright, what did you
That's
get?
a 5.
Alright. These are quick little buggers too. Alright? As soon as it kind of like plopped up onto it and you're thinking, oh, that's kind of cute, it just starts off to the side. And you watch as it hits the floor and it scurries underneath one of the tables, and you can still see it like as it kind of moves underneath one of like the tables and is now scurrying towards the center section where everybody else's beds are set up. Now, do you have any spell that might stop this thing at this moment?
Anything that might stop it. Let's have a look. Not particularly, no.
Watch as it across the floor, leaving like this slimy kind of trail with it as well. And it ends up going underneath one of these cupboards for a moment. And it's like maybe gotten like 30 feet away from you in that quick little dash that it did off to the side, and then immediately went underneath one of these cupboards in the center ring where all the rest of the rooms are. Doesn't look like it's moving out from under there. You can kind of hear this little sound coming from under there. It's slimy, and then occasionally even like this almost mouse-like squeak.
All right. Yeah, Kak will mutter something under his breath, and then he'll cast Dancing Lights and get one to go floating under. And he'll get down, not too close.
Okay, alright.
On the floor, just so he can have a look under there.
So, you can see it, like, almost flattened up across the back wall. Like, it almost, like, tried to, like, make the same shape as the wall, behind it, or the backboard underneath this. It's, like, quivering with the light kind of, sheening off of it. And it's got these, like, two little kind of almost, snail-like little antennae that look into your direction, from the middle of it. And it's not moving, it's not darting out, as like the light kind of shines off of it.
Any idea on exactly what the little tadpole needs to, survive?
You know that it needs a host to survive. It's not gonna stay out like this for very long. It won't survive for very long.
Oh boy.
Go ahead. Actually, based off of that Arcana that you had before, you know that it's going to require a host within 8 hours, or it's going to die. But it also occurs to you that you might be able to pickle this thing in some of like the that you had from that guy that you saw. So it does occur to you that this might be useful to you if you manage to catch it, and it might be really bad if it got away.
Yeah. Alright, well, Kak's of two minds right now. One is it needs a host. So he could either try and find a host or be a host. Or two, he can try and catch it. What better way to study something than on yourself? That makes perfect sense.
Dear God. Okay.
Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna. All right. Does Keck know what will happen to the host? Is this one of those things that's going to eat it from the inside, or?
No, you know that it will eventually transform the host into a slod. They can sometimes, depending on what type they get turned into, retain a semblance of like their old personality or memory, but most of the time they get changed drastically.
Okay, in that case, yep, we're going to try and catch it. And, yeah, probably pickle this boy.
Okay. Okay, hold up. Do you speak deep speech?
Yes.
Okay. You know that this thing can't speak or anything. But you do know that it can understand their own particular language that they have that is somewhat related to deep speech. And you think that you might be able to like do some like basic kind of like just like basic words to kind of like maybe convince it to come out or not bite you. So just go ahead and give me a persuasion check.
Oh, yeah. Like, come on, little buddy.
All right.
I promise I'll find you a host. I just need you in this jar. Come on.
It not only comes to you, it doesn't try and bite you when it does it. Okay. It squishes across a little slug and comes up onto your little hand, and it just kind of like almost looks like a little ball shape out of itself. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'll get one of how big is it?
It is the size of a tennis ball.
Oh, all right, big boy. Yep. All right. I'll try and find a jar that I can put it in for now.
All right. You have plenty of them around. An assortment of vials and jars. And you know that you could probably purchase some of that formaldehyde, pretty much, or not formaldehyde. There's an actual word for this. I looked it up and I don't remember it now, but the pickle juice. Right? Yes, you can find the pickle juice, and buy it probably for relatively cheap, actually. Just to summarize on that would bar of that size is only actually 5 silver. It's like buying wine, essentially.
Alright, easy. Alright, yep.
Yeah, you make nothing more than a day trip for you as you get out and see the sunlight for just a brief little while and make your way to Montcommerce, where Ruben's Regents is, and really like losing his teeth, hooked-nosed proprietor seems very interested in the fact that you're taking up the hobby, and ensures you that if you want to buy in bulk in the future, he's more than happy to. And then you get your little jar of it, and you now have one pickled slod tadpole.
Excellent.
And you didn't unleash freaking a slod pandemic into the city.
Yeah, don't worry. Nothing bad's gonna happen. It's relatively small. Potentially. Alright.
I was really nervous at the fact that I was like, oh man, trying to catch something and it's really fast and he's fucking sorcerer. This isn't looking so good. But at the same time, I was hoping that you would be able to get some good persuasions in there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
He's gonna be my little friend.
That happened about like Wednesday for you, which was, the same day that Zale had his date, and they arrived at the Griffons Perch, and the same day that Thea and Libby and Hanu all finished doing their final scout out of the location. And then they spent the next day after that pretty much planning their route and stuff through the canals. You figured out how you're going to get to the canals through the service hatch, right? That based off of where that thing is laid out, you should be able to drop right down into one of the sewers that will then lead you to the canal district.
Good.
So your only part, really, Hanu, that you're having to worry about is the getting everybody through the sewer system portion.
Okay.
You don't really know what it's going to look like on the other side because the only way of getting through there would have been to do the break-in, and so you had some maps that were actually in the Ouija board that showed that where that sewer exits out from, but it doesn't have a lot of what's actually down there. But it should be relatively quick, you're thinking. So, all right. So, here you are, Hanu, with the blue crew, standing right across the street, eating some roadside fare while Fee tries to pretend to read a newspaper, and you all prepare for the final steps. This is you're kind of shoring up the last minute details of your plan and wondering whether or not Caius is going to arrive. You hear a slight tap of metal against the little food cart next to you, and you look over and you can see Caius' trench coat, stains on it, rugged beard, and his hook hand. He's just tapped against the side of the food cart, and just kind of like looks at the guy that's on the food cart and goes, and the guy nods his head and he starts putting up the cart, and Caius lights a cigarette, puts it between his lips, both of his hands in his pockets, not even like, not looking at you guys, looking at the place across the street, goes, all right. So, here we are. Is this the time to back out now? If you're really not feeling up for it, I wouldn't blame you.
Well, The stone has already been cast and the ripples are going through. Might as well surf them.
Is that a sort of thieves' cant I'm not familiar with? Or...
Right back down in the coast, but only with water genasi. Okay. Any tips and pointers? Anything else in case something goes drastically wrong? What should we do?
Nope. Does your parent feel it's my obligation to go over the plan, as it's been stated, just for clarity's sake?
Mm-hmm.
Sure everybody's on the same page. Looks at you, see if that something you want him to do.
She nods along. Wait, what suggestions could I give him? There's just, we just go through everything, just finalizing it?
Giving him?
No, I didn't understand what you were asking before.
So. No, give me just a second. So, I just want to go over the plan. Make sure we're all on the same page. Simple. Lib, Anu, you two will go to the coat shop, Abernath's. Sunshine over here goes into the museum posing as a visitor. She'll work her magic so that the snake takes the crown to the service hatch behind the exhibit glass. Meanwhile, Libby will distract the guard and gain his keys so that you can get into their service room and access the service hatch from underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you, Lib, take prize and what's taken with it.
Yeah, we're just going for any of the smaller necklaces in the middle table. That should at least be enough compensation, correct? She'll look over to him for confirmation.
I had the feeling that maybe a gold break the glass kind of heist might be a little too advanced for you. Went ahead and covered your cost. See, as he pulls his other hand out of his other pocket, you can see that there is an abundance of rings and charms around his hand. Recognize having spotted them underneath the glass.
Thank you. She looks slightly confused for a bit and then just shrugs her shoulders and hesitantly puts her hand out.
A friend of Babs is a friend of mine. Just don't go telling anybody I've gone soft.
Don't worry. If there's one thing I do know, it's when to keep my mouth shut.
I'll make it here, I think, then, Loss. Alright. Let's do this.
Okay, then. And Water Walk has been cast. The ritual, and then we enact the phases.
Alright. How long does that last again, just for a reminder?
1 hour.
Perfect. Beautiful. Alrighty.
So,
you guys all coolly split from that direction. You see as he takes a newspaper off of the stand as the guy with the wheel cart begins to walk away with it, and he pops it underneath his arm and he begins walking beside the cart as it's kind of going away, and you get the feeling that if you were to be watching from the other side of the street, you would just see the cart and not him.
okay.
And as he's walking away with the food cart, the is like, okay, right, we're doing this. Good luck.
Alright, I will pat her on the shoulders, give her a tiny kiss on the forehead, and give her guidance. You're gonna do great, okay? Kind of usher her in, but also, just to clarify, we are all in disguises.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I have no idea what we look like, but we look like we're probably ready for anything.
Yeah, you look like like a like a half orc, pretty much.
Okay.
And Fee isn't like wearing her hat, and she's like borrowed some of Libby's clothes, so she's like got a lot more black in her outfit than you than she owns. And Libby didn't really mess with herself at that, but she isn't going into the museum, so she's sticking as herself.
Alrighty. Gotcha.
And so you watch as like you're walking down these stairs to the left of a staircase that's going upstairs to the museum, right? You've seen places like this in Chicago, right? So so like you watch as like Fee is climbing the steps, and you're descending down into this like darkened little nook, and the bell rings as you walk through it into this coat shop of various types and sizes of coats, and the man Abernathy isn't here, but his son is, and you see as Lib immediately walks over to start talking to him, and you don't really get the gist of what she's saying, but she's kind of like caught him into a conversation to where you can tell he can like no longer even see you at this moment. And she is going to roll for persuasion. She got a nat 20, which makes it a 31. Wow, she didn't even have to do the secondary thing with a nat 20, which was to try and pick it off of his pocket while he was talking. Instead, she says to him something about wanting to try something on, but she doesn't want to use the common dressing room for it. She needs something a little bit more private, so she asked if she could use that service room for it. And he seems a little confused for a moment, but then she says, I just really want to know what the furs look like with just the furs on. And she's the only one I trust for this judgment. And he seems flabbergasted during this. And she hands him the key, and she walks over to you, waving it, and you guys go into the service elevator. You feel like you probably got 10 minutes, right? And she has a couple of coats along the way. And while you guys are in there, she's periodically, just like making remarks about the things that she's brought in there, all right, as if all her problem goes. When you walk in here, it's got a little sink on one wall, and you can see a grate in the floor, and you can see up above you is like a hatch, like a trapdoor hatch, right? And I need you to, it's about a good like 15 feet up though, all right, because you're deep down. So this is a really tall room that goes up to pretty much a service hatch, and then it's just going to drain the floor, right? You can see pipes up along the top of that portion, but they're really hard to reach to. So I need you to give me athletics or acrobatics as you kind of try and shimmy your way up to grab that hatch at the top.
I mean, at this point, since Libby might need to be doing some other sneaky stuff, is it okay if I just cast Enhance Ability on both of us, level 3?
Yeah, that works.
I'll do Cat's Grace, so I'll work on acrobatics and dex. So
all right,
I'll do that, and I will ask her, I'll tell her Blue Crew maneuver number 10. And then she'll kind of just help lift me up as I run.
He signs 10.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, you managed to shimmy your way up to the top of it. It's not graceful or fast. It takes you about like a good 5 minutes to get up to the top of it. But you do manage. And the walls in here are like slick, you know, it's kind of like they've got like moisture on them, right? You can see like water kind of dripping off of the pipes up at the top every once in a while. So it takes you about 5 minutes to get up there while she's down on the bottom using the using a crowbar that y'all had brought in as part of y'all's burglar's kit stuff that she's carrying with her. And is kind of like pretending to to still be having a conversation with you while she's propping up this grate in the floor, which is y'all's escape hatch down into the canals. You get up to the top, and you pull the hatch, right? And you can hear from up above the sound of, like, you know, a bird and some conversation echoing through a hall. You hear like the rustling of some leaves. And you're stuck up there for a pretty decent moment. And you're wondering whether or not Fee has managed to make her way through it as the minutes kind of stretch. And you start seeing, like, it's getting close to you having been in here for about 10 minutes now. And you're knocking on the outside door now, right? And Libby is going to attempt to be like, oh, don't worry about it. How does this jacket even go on? Why are there so many sleeves in this thing? 25.
Yeah.
You tried, like, turning it upside down, he shouts as an advice from the or inside out. No, he's just trying to give her advice through the door on how to put on clothes.
Beautiful. I will take a few deep breaths and just kind of do a semi-meditation thing as I just listen to everything around me. Okay.
You hear this hissing kind of sound peek up, and you can see as the middle section of a snake kind of actually begins to slowly drape its way down, right? And you can look up and you can see that from like a low branch off of like a fake tree that there is a snake, a very long one, right? And it's around its midsection, this crown is kind of coiled through it, right? So it kind of coils all the way down until it gets towards close to you. And then when you go and grab the crown, it then uncoils its tail and it slips back up through to the top.
But wait, I thought you were gonna be free. Oh, okay. Thank you. I will kind of get confused, but realize maybe Fee's gonna have something else on her, because the other thing was the snake was she was gonna break it out, right?
Yes, and just as you hear that, and you remember distinctly that there was the break glass kind of bold heist might be too advanced for you guys, right? Was why he stole the stuff from the center, right, in a more subtle way, right, without you guys. Despite this change in the plan, you hear the sound of shattering glass from up above.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
And a bunch of people panicking.
Oh, gosh. Okay. She is going to just give a quick prayer to Fee, and then she's just gonna shimmy down, because now this is an interesting moment of opportunity. Kind of cursing, what the fuck? Is the is the snake following, or is it just goes?
No, doesn't look. It looks like it coiled itself back up through the hole. When you look through the top portion, you can just see like foliage. You see like a bird suddenly fly out from one of the branches, and like somebody in the room around that same time like screams.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a zoo suddenly being let loose out of that room right above you.
Oh
You can
gosh.
hear the sounds of like animals being like running. You can hear the sounds of people freaking out about snakes, and yeah, it seems she might have broken the exhibit glass and possibly freed all the animals.
I will tell them. Be
The plan must continue, and you hear as Libby goes, "Oh, that sounds concerning. Are we supposed to be concerned?"
I don't.
Fuck it. We gotta go.
Oh,
It's
God.
like the guy knocks on the door again.
Yep.
He goes, "Is that coming from in there?"
And I just drop because once I get to 30 feet, I just drop down because I got that cat's grace, and then we're like,
All right.
just point to the grate. We're going in.
You see that she holds her nose and she nods to you, gives a thumbs up,
Mhm.
and then she jumps down into this hole. All right, and you can see that down in it, it's a pipe that's like about 10 feet down, begins to kind of come into a curve, and it's being fed into like what appears to be the pipe coming from like where that sink section is.
Okay.
All right, so you can see like where the sink and all the other pipes probably are spilling into that pipe right there. And she hits that current of water. She's just swept away by it.
Okay.
Are you leave it afterwards?
Yeah, well, she does have water walk on her.
Yes. You're in a pipe though.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
being, like,
So yeah, I'll
put down a
go
small-
after her. So I'll just follow through, and I will tell her, "You want the Takaroa?" So she wants the sovereignty casted on her.
All right. The water doesn't seem to be like filling the pipe here, so she goes, "No!" And she's a good little bit ahead of you. All right. And you can see as it kind of suddenly opens up, and you can see that it's a bunch of like half and quarter or half pipes and full pipes feeding into a network in this giant cavernous room underneath here, right? And you are riding around on one of these down into the direction. Now, when you had viewed the map, there had been these lines that you hadn't understood what they were, and now you do, as you're currently following that line at a rapid pace, going about 60 feet per turn down this thing, like you're dashing.
Yeah.
But you can see where it feeds in with several more pipes, and the water keeps diverting into random directions, right? It doesn't actually seem to matter which directions it goes. It seems to just be for the purpose of splitting the water up,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And you're about to get randomly hit with a random direction at this cross network ahead of you.
I'll shape water so we at least are in the same line, but if I need to cast
Mhm.
control water, I will help divert us to where we need to go with control water.
You figure you could probably get it with shape water,
Okay.
but I just need an acrobatics check from you.
Okay, alright. And which, since I did not drop the spell, I got advantage on that, so.
Alright.
21.
You manage to like catch the currents of the water and use it to keep you both kind of being guided with the same current. And now you're almost like going even faster down it as you just and suddenly you disappear into a full pipe that gets fed in with a bunch of water, and you are now fully submerged underneath it. It gets immediately dark and you can't see anything as you suddenly plunge into fully submerged water in this pipe.
Okay.
Now,
I will cast Sovereignty on us. Do we know how long this pipe system could go for based off of this?
you, based off of what you had seen on the maps, and having talked through it, you know that this pipe, based off of how fast you're going, give me an intelligence check.
Okay.
Okay. You manage. You figure it's probably going to be a good 5, possibly even 10 minutes before you get to where you're trying to go.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't know whether or not it's going to let up for air in between then and though.
Yep.
There
I will
though.
cast sovereignty, so we at least have 10 minutes of water breathing. And
All right.
as I do that, I kind of jet us a little bit faster with shape water, so we're basically surfing.
Like, and these glowing tidal markings across your body, offering this light within this small, 5-foot wide tube that you're being jettisoned through in this water. And it's a good thing you cast it because it doesn't let up into another area. You did see a section where it looked like you might have been able to pop a hatch out, right? But it wasn't already opened, right? So it still would have been difficult. But you just instead go right past it, and it lets you out about 15 feet over the water into the canal district. Now you can choose to go under the water, or you could land on it at 15 feet.
Yeah, Hanu, since she still does have the acrobatic stuff on there, she's just gonna plunge right in. Try to do a little, just a basic diving technique. And then she'll just wait to see where Libby's at.
And let's see. You see as she also kind of dives into the water with you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you both kind of pop up over the water, right? And come back up again, you feel like the water like even out underneath you. You can see like lily pads and algae kind of forming like this almost like greeny murkish layer over the top of it, but it's getting like broken away as it gets further out away from the pipe that you just went through.
Okay.
And once more you can see the little plants underneath kind of breaking up all of the organic matter in the water. And as you pull yourselves up, not even just a moment over it, then do you feel a hand reach and grab yours as you see Piranha reaching over the side of her boat and pulling you up onto it.
Alright. She momentarily does like a reflexive flinch before she grabs on and hoists herself up and then reaches down to help. Libby up. That martial artist, holy shit, where did you come from? Reaction.
I did not mean to frighten you.
Oh, it's okay. There's just a lot going on.
So it would seem.
Alright.
Inca's away.
Alrighty then. Then she's quietly just praying that, Fee, where are you, girl?
And, all right. You take the boat away for just like a little bit downstream towards where you're supposed to like pick her up from, and by the time you get there, you can see that she's kind of already standing on this pier looking hella nervous.
Yeah.
And as soon as she like sees you guys, she like waves really enthusiastically and then thinks, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. And she puts her hand away real quick. And then like you can see her sit back down, grab the newspaper that's like next to her that she'd like abandoned at some point, and go back to like pretending to read the newspaper really ineffectively. And as soon as you guys arrive, she leaps onto the boat and she goes, "We did it! Oh, I can't believe we did it!
Yeah, I give her a hug, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you freed all the animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I will hoist her up in the air, circularly, and then kind of go inside, so we're actually out of people's eyes. Like, okay. Good. I think that was...
Okay. Parent in navigation. We have to go northeast, and then once we see the Red Lantern District, then we're going to change our direction from there. Trust me.
Okay, I will glance over at Tirana and step aside.
And Tirana kind of heads back to like this sort of like lever type thing in the back of the boat, right? And pulls it up a little bit, and you see as it begins to slowly start moving forward. And she kind of pulls the lever to the left, and it kind of drifts around, and then as soon as she's got it oriented right, she pulls the lever up even more, and it starts gliding along at about pretty steady 15 feet per round kind of speed. It's not a super fast getaway vehicle. But you're now down in the canal district, and as soon as you guys get to the red light, you will be amongst many boats as long as she can get you there.
Alright, I will try
So
to
roll her.
Yeah, I'll try to at least roll some shape water to help the rudder if we need to make the like specific sharp turns and stuff. So.
Gotcha. If she makes this roll, then you all have gotten away clean, and there won't be a chase.
Okay.
Oh.
I will guidance. I don't know what I would need to. I don't know what rule she's making.
Yeah, guidance. Guidance would work.
Yeah. It's a long pause, but if I need to use my channel divinity, I'll use it.
Did you roll for guidance?
Okay. I thought you were gonna do that. Okay. So suspense. Guidance is 4.
Oh, perfect. All right. You guys make it. For a moment there, she thinks she got lost, and but then she kind of feels like the confidence of your guidance kind of wash over her, and she always used to live here her entire life. She's not lost, and sure enough, you kind of come back around one of these bends, and a lot of these buildings look very similar. But at this point down here in this flooded district, it's just vines and ivies and old buildings. Right? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And there aren't really signs down here other than thieves can't.
Yeah.
And but she manages to navigate you guys to it, and you guys kind of come through this. There's a vine kind of curtain blocking it off, just a bunch of ivy and blocking the path. But you can see a bit of a red lamp shining through it. And as the boat parts through the ivy, you can see a multitude of just hundreds of boats. And as soon as your boat kind of glides into the current with the rest of them, you can feel almost a collective sigh.
Alright. I'll give Libby the Blue Crew handshake and fist bump, and then I'll give Fia a little noogie on the head, and I'll bow deeply to Tirana for thanks. Okay. Last phase then, it seems.
You have a rendezvous point where he says he has arranged transportation for you and one other person to go with him to make the deal.
Okay. Alright, I will motion over to Tirana and like gesture Fee to her. You stay with her. Fee is, well, you know that she's pretty much a miracle worker with plants. If you have any questions, might as well show her around the boat, but hopefully this doesn't take too long. But are we planning to meet Tirana back, or afterwards? Or they're just planning to go somewhere to the?
They're gonna head back to Rosemarie's, and
Okay.
so after the meetup, you're to meet them there.
All right, so I will just pat Fee on the shoulder and give Tirana a nod. All right, you take care, okay?
Nods, and then like a very energetic nod multiple times from Fee, and a singular nod from Tirana.
All right. If this goes well, I owe you guys, okay?
And Liv says something about fuck that. That's what Blue Crew's for.
All right. I mean, I was just gonna have like a big dinner or something, but okay. We'll do both. I'll not owe you, but I'll still give you some food. Let's go.
And with that, we will break from this, and we will come back at 9 and pick up for what's been going on the islands. In the meantime, though, Mashad, are you here?
I'm here.
Can you roll me 1d7?
Oh, shit.
Oh man, you made it far, bro. Oh my god. You made it through gold. You've made it and earned jewels. You've gotten art. You've gotten property. But you lost something magic. Now, let me... We will get to what that means.
Roll a 6.
Alan would have been thumping.
Right.
You haven't lost it yet, but this is possibly lost. So give me just a second.
Yeah.
You got a magic item or a scroll on you?
Yeah, I have a couple magic items.
Alright, which one are you willing to bet? That well, we got 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I can't get rid of my sword and shield.
No, not an option, and they know how to tell when things are bound to people, so that trick doesn't work.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know that thing. That was me out of character.
Griffons. Just a
Is the
second.
clockwork stuff considered magical or no?
The what?
The clockwork
hold on.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
My headphones are now on. There we go.
Hmm. It's like the clockwork, like Fayfly and the Minipillar, all that. Technically, would that work too, or no?
The clockwork ones, they do not.
You do not. Okay. At least one thing. Spectacles. What the spectacles? I'll go blind, but they are magical.
What's the rarity on them?
Uncommon, I think.
Okay. Sure, they weren't common.
Oh, they are. actually just look that up. The mink. Sure. No, that's common. So it'd be the cloak of protection then. That's uncommon.
There we go. All right, give me just a second.
I mean, at least it wasn't talent, guys. That would have been pretty bad losing proficiency.
Hmm.
And life. I was 2 away from life. That was scary. Very scary. I'm just kind of curious though.
You don't have any spell scrolls, do you?
I don't
Okay,
think
that would count. I don't know if potions would count.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they do not, but spell
No.
scrolls do.
I'm trying to think.
All right.
That's
Interesting.
not very good.
All right. Huh. Okay. Well, you're betting it against a pair of boots of elven kind. So that's funny.
Oh, who would have thought?
Mm-hmm. Right.